I'm really not the guy for point-and-shoot cameras. And I'm a kid from the 80s and 90s. I don't know who my audience is. Hey, my name is Thomas and oh my god, did I forget my camera? No camera bag. Ah, shit. What do we do now? Oh, wait. I got it here. It's so small. I'm showing you the smallest analog camera, the best analog camera in some way, the ultimate street photography camera that you cannot shoot today. My name is Thomas, as I said before, and I'm super thrilled again. Let's have a go. So the camera I'm talking about today is of course the Canon IXUS. This is an APS camera and that's already the problem. You don't get APS film new today anymore. You always have to get old stock from before 2011 or something. And that also is the reason why this is so freaking small. This camera is 124 grams. It's, I think, half the weight of a big iPhone, and it's also super small. It just fits in any pocket, and that is just amazing. It does pretty good large images, by the way. The APS-C format is 16:9, so it's also kind of Instagrammable because it just fits in a vertical Instagram on the phone. So yeah, there's so much to like about this camera, but again, you cannot shoot it. But I've got some film. I'm really lucky. I got it from a friend and he got it from a thrift store. So let's have a go now. This camera is super easy to operate, of course. There's just a few things, and remember, it's all sort of Game Boy style how you operate it. So I think for you, the younger guys who are watching my videos, you think this is pretty retro, and guys like me, I'm a kid of the 80s and the 90s, I find it actually pretty normal and modern. But okay, you've got this button, on, off, opens the lens, everything. And you've got this panoramic thing, I showed it to you already. And then you've got these super small fiddly buttons. You only need them to set up the camera, like put in the date, for example. All this information is stored on the film. There is a digital layer or something on the film that stores it, but does it matter really? I don't know. Today you're gonna scan the film anyway, I think, and not make analog prints. Actually, when you set the camera on the first time, it will show 97 because that's when it was made. That's kind of funny. These buttons you're going to need sometimes. This is for example, a surf timer and stuff. And this one runs through the flash modes, like red eye reduction flash, flash always on, flash always off. And this is a super cool feature. This is a flash with a long-time exposure. This thing can go up to 2 seconds exposure at f2.8, so you can shoot night shots with it in cities at last. And you can put in a fill-in flash, so it will still expose up to 2 seconds. I love that feature. When you turn off the camera, it will always revert to the standard mode, which is auto flash. So it flashes when it wants, but if it flashes, it will not do a long-time exposure. Here goes your film. I'm not going to show it to you right now. The problem is some of the APS cameras were able to do a mid-roll film exchange. That means you could take out the film anytime and put it back in and it would just pick up from there. So you could change, in theory, from black and white to color film or whatever mid-roll. The Canon IXUS does not do that. So once you take out the film, it's half exposed and there is no real way to put it back into the camera and expose the rest of the film. So I'm not going to open that. And this one here, this is for the battery. It's a standard whatever battery. I put in the name of it. I paid €9 for this. I don't know if they are cheaper somewhere else. That's it, all the features. Super cool. Now this is classic point and shoot. You just, this is on off. This camera, it's the IXUS L-1. It does not have a zoom lens. It's just 30mm equivalent, sort of 30, 35, 16:9 again. And then you press the shutter button, that's it. Like, super easy. Actually, this is my second IXUS L-1 because back in 1999, I already bought one of these. They were really, really hot at the time because they were so freaking compact. And I wanted something to take with me for when I'm around with friends or traveling or something. So I've got a lot of shots in this video, which I took back in 1999. I hope you enjoy them a lot. So they tell you also the story of what the camera can do and what not. The history of APS film is a history of a failure. Back in, I think, 95 or 96, a lot of camera and film brands like Kodak, Nikon, Canon, whoever, teamed up to introduce a new film format for the future. They really wanted to replace 35mm film with this. And the film is smaller. It also has a little bit of a smaller image size. It's 17x30mm. And it was more expensive, but it had a lot of cool features that made it very convenient. But the one thing that they maybe didn't think about back then was it was able to make much more compact cameras because the film canisters were also smaller. And that's how the IXUS came to fruition. And there's some more of these super small cameras, but I think the IXUS is the most well-known one. But they also made SLR cameras that didn't catch up in the market. So a couple of years later, the whole thing was kind of withdrawn already from the market, and that's why also the film is not made anymore. This is the big tragedy of these cameras, because this one is brilliant. The bigger ones, forget about them. Another fun fact is I noticed this camera has an f2.8 lens. It's not the sharpest lens. Don't try to shoot landscapes. But what I did notice is it loves to keep open the aperture apparently. So even in landscape shots in bright sunlight, it seems to shoot at sort of open apertures a lot. Don't ask me why. I love this fill-in flash. I hope the thing is knowing what it's doing. The 90s were a time of really weird designs. So have a look at that car, for example. This is also from the late 90s. Citroen, whatever. I remember you can sort of remove you can remove this. This you can remove, and then you have sort of a convertible, and then they made it also a retro design with a de chevaux look, you know. 90s were really wild, and this is also a child from the 90s. It also likes to use the flash apparently. The one thing I don't know is if all the shots today will turn out at all, because this film, again, it's expired, I think, in 2010, and it's a 200 ISO color film, and no one knows how it was stored. Remember, if they put film in a freezer, it will last for decades, but APS film was never stored in the freezer. It's amateur film. Some people bought it back then for fun, forgot about it. It was maybe in a drawer, subjected to high temperatures, etc. So we are in for a surprise here. If the photos fail because the film is too bad, then you will only see the pictures I took back in '99. One thing I have to show to you, you've got this here. In every APS film camera, you've got a classic, H, whatever that means, and a panoramic mode. Just put it on H. It doesn't do anything to the film. It only changes the view in the viewfinder, and classic means it's APS-C. That's the format you know. So it's 3x2, this is 16x9, and this is a panoramic format. But it's this information is stored digitally or in a form of a barcode on the film, and it's only for the printer. The negative itself is always 17 by 30 millimeters. It's always 16x9. You get always the full negative. It's not like it shoots in a different format. It just gives a different information to the printer, and it shows in the viewfinder, so you have an idea how your print will look if it's a panoramic print. But it's just cropping, you know, nothing else. So I would always leave it in H. If you check the prices for point-and-shoot cameras for 35mm film today, they're really expensive, especially the really small ones like the Pentax SP or Mini or something. You're paying 200, sometimes 300 euros for one of those. Pretty overpriced. This you can basically almost get for free if you're shopping around a little bit, maybe 20, 30 euros, and you get a Canon IXUS. Again, the reason is because you can't get film for it. But on the other hand, I just recently saw that Light Lens Lab from China, who made these amazing Leica L-mount lenses already, they announced that they are going into film development, new films for 2025, 2026. I hope they're going through with that. Maybe these guys see a chance in bringing back APS film. You never know. It would be really, really, really amazing if they did it. One thing you have to keep in mind, this is a 26mm lens, again, on APS film. In width, it's a 30mm equivalent, and in image height, it's a 40mm equivalent. So it's actually pretty tight. It's much tighter than an iPhone lens, for example. There were some cameras, IXUS cameras with a zoom lens, but I think they start at 24mm instead of 26, so it's not a real big difference. These are not really wide-angle cameras. They are really more street sort of cameras, but sometimes you have to move back a step, like, for example, for this. I think I'm pretty far away from this to just cover the image of the one window, but okay, that's how it is. I'm really not the guy for point-and-shoot cameras, but this one I deeply, deeply love, and the reason is because it's so much smaller. I cannot imagine how expensive these things would be on the used market if the film would be available. Given that, again, Pentax SP Mini, which is much larger than this, already is like 200, sometimes 300 euros. And this is so much more fun, believe me. You can put it anywhere. It even works in a pants pocket. And I never say that because I think cameras never fit pants pockets, but this one does. So I'm deeply in love, and I'm burning through this roll of film like crazy. I hope the images are turning out well, but I'm also really sad because after this one film, I don't have any more film left, and I really want to use this camera. Time for the verdict, but I think you got that I really, really love this camera. Keep in mind, the lens is not the best. It's not for landscape or shit, but you see this type of camera, you know what it's good for. deeply, deeply recommended if there would not be the problem with the film. I'm actually thinking to get a few of them just in case they make APS film again. It would be so, so great. About development, you also have to find a lab that can develop it. Keep in mind all these automatic processors for color film that were made in the 80s and 90s and whatever, they can often process APS film as long as these are still used. People can develop the film. They just put it in the machine and the machine knows what to do. That's cool. In my case, I'm gonna have this developed at Camera Dealer here in Cologne. He has a machine that can do it, but he also told me I'm the first customer who's coming with an APS film. They're really, really rare. So I hope it works out. Otherwise, have a look at the pictures from the 90s. Again, I shot it back then. I traveled a lot at the time. It was very exciting times for me. I was an aspiring young photographer, and I just brought this camera everywhere for my candidates and my private photography. So, so cool, really. I love it, but can I recommend it? No, because there is no film. Go figure. And that's it for today. I hope you found this interesting, maybe even useful. If you did so, please leave a like. Write something in the comment section below. Oh, by the way, I have a question for you. Again, this is a thing from the 90s, and I think this is a super, super cool camera for people that are today in their 20s, really young photographers. And I'm a kid from the 80s and 90s. I don't know who my audience is. YouTube always shows me my audience is around 35 to 40, the main audience, but when I click on individual video statistics, then it shows me something 50 plus. I love you all. I just want to know how old you are because I find it interesting. So if you want, just drop a line down there about your age or something, or why you're watching my channel. I don't know, just for fun, if you want. I will happily answer every single one of your comments. I'm really, really eager to see them. Okay, enough said. Have a great time, live long and prosper, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.